You know the saying, right? It's a classic for a reason. The go-to line when summer heat gets truly unbearable. But have you ever really stopped to think about it? Could you actually do it? Well, today, we're going to find out. We are putting that famous old saying to the test.
I'm sure you've heard it. You've probably even said it. On one of those blazing hot days, this line just perfectly sums up that feeling of being cooked alive. But is there any science behind it? So, what's the deal? Is this just a colorful way to complain about the weather, or could you actually cook breakfast out on the pavement? We're going to dig in, Mythbuster style, and see what really happens when an egg meets the summer sun. To really get to the bottom of this, we're going to look at some real-world attempts, people who actually tried it, and then we'll break down the science of why they worked, or, more often, why they failed. So let's get cracking.
First things first, we need a target. What temperature are we even aiming for? Well, according to the Library of Congress, this is the magic number. An egg's proteins need to hit 158 degrees Fahrenheit, that's 70 Celsius, to actually firm up and cook. So the real question is, can any everyday surface out in the sun actually get that hot?
Let's start with the place mentioned in the saying, the sidewalk. Now, it can feel absolutely scorching on your feet, but concrete is actually a pretty poor conductor of heat. Research shows that even on a really hot day, a sidewalk is probably going to max out at around 145 degrees Fahrenheit. I mean, that's incredibly hot, don't get me wrong, but it's still just a little shy of that 158-degree target we need.
All right, so the sidewalk's a no-go. But what about other surfaces? Let's check out what happened when a few brave souls took this challenge to their cars.
Okay, so right away, we're seeing a pattern with light-colored cars, and it is not looking good. In one attempt down in Perth, an egg was left on a silver car for hours, and it just turned into a warm, raw mess. Another experiment showed that aluminum foil on a silver hood stays surprisingly cool. So what is going on here?
And here's why. It all comes down to reflection. As Dr. B explains it, shiny, light-colored surfaces are fantastic at bouncing sunlight away instead of soaking up its heat. It's the exact same reason you use those silver sunshades for your windshield. So, a light-colored car? Yeah, that's not going to work.
And that brings us to, well, a much messier experiment. A YouTuber named Elvis decided to try frying an egg on his dark car when it was 113 degrees out. The result was kind of epic, actually. A slippery disaster, with the egg just sliding right off the hood. But, and this is a big but, amidst all that chaos, there was a clue.
So yeah, it was a mess, for sure. But look closely. It wasn't a total failure. See those little bits where the egg white turned opaque and solid? That tells us something really important. A dark, heat-absorbing metal surface gets us so much closer to our target temperature. We're definitely on the right track now. And this is where things get really clever. This leads us to an experiment that totally worked because it took that idea and ran with it. A YouTuber in Arizona tried something completely different. Instead of fighting the environment, she used it to her advantage. She didn't put the egg on her car, she put it inside. And guess what? It totally worked. She put a skillet right on her dashboard, cracked an egg in it, and just waited. She let the sun do all the work. And about an hour later, boom, a fully cooked egg. This proves it can be done, but the location is absolutely everything. So, what was the secret sauce here? Why did the inside of the car work when the outside didn't? Well, it all comes down to a couple of key scientific principles. You know, the numbers really paint the picture for us. The sidewalk, it maxes out around 145 degrees. A dark car hood gets us close, maybe up to 150. But a car's dashboard, it can soar right past 157 degrees, putting it comfortably in our egg-cooking zone. And there are two big reasons why. Okay, first up is something called conduction. Basically, metal is just way better at transferring heat than concrete is. That's why the dark car hood did a better job than the sidewalk. It's just more efficient at getting the sun's energy into the egg. But that's not even the biggest piece of the puzzle. The real game changer here is the greenhouse effect. Sunlight pours through the car's windows, and it heats up surfaces like the dashboard and the seats. Those surfaces then radiate that heat back out. But here's the trick. The heat can't easily escape back through the glass, so it gets trapped, basically turning your car into a super effective solar oven. All right, we've seen the attempts, we've dug into the science, so what's the final verdict on this classic summer question? Let's break it down with a final scorecard. Frying an egg on the sidewalk? Myth busted. On a light-colored car? Also busted, because it's just too reflective. What about a dark-colored car hood?
I'm going to call that plausible. You might get some cooking done, but it's a long shot. But inside a car, using that awesome power of the greenhouse effect, oh yeah, that is absolutely confirmed.
And you know, this is where our fun little experiment stops being fun, because the very same physics that can cook an egg can also create an incredibly dangerous and even deadly environment.
Just look at these numbers from a study by ASU and UC San Diego. They're staggering. On a 100-degree day, after just 1 hour, the air inside a car hits 116 degrees. The steering wheel is 127, and the dashboard, as we now know, reaches a blistering 157 degrees.
And like physics professor Jeff Terry says, this isn't just some academic exercise. Everybody already knew this was dangerous. What this research does is put hard numbers on it. It shows us exactly how quickly the inside of a car can become a death trap for any child or pet left inside.
And this is really the bottom line, isn't it? The temperature we were aiming for in our fun science experiment is way, way beyond what a living being can handle. It's a really stark reminder of the serious danger hiding in plain sight on a hot day.
It's kind of wild, right? We start with this quirky question about frying an egg, and we end up with a profound lesson in thermodynamics. These principles, absorption, reflection, the greenhouse effect, they're happening all around us all the time. So the real question is, now that you know what to look for, where else are you going to see them at work?